All right. Good morning, guys. One thing that I did notice while I was going through some of our videos introducing colleges to you guys is that the start of the application is within a few days. So, for example, the other day we just went through Mississippi State University, great university, and what they had on their website was a countdown to the first day that you can apply. And it was like 5 days right now. So I think like the countdown might have been like August 1st or something like that, whatever it is. So I said to say that by August, a lot of these applications are open for fall of 2024. That's right, fall of 2024. So when you see a lot of these places talking about, we have rolling admissions and things like that, I personally believe that when you hear rolling admissions, you definitely want to make sure that you're still making a deadline for you to apply. All right. Now, if you have your 5, 10, 15 schools, remember I said 15 schools is probably the ideal, then really by August, September, you should be getting there and sending these applications in. Now, there's several reasons why this is a good idea. Number one, if you're interested in early admission, the earlier you get them in, the earlier you're going to get an offer. So, for example, I know some students that have gotten early admission as early as October. Early decision as early as October. If that's their number one school, that's where they always wanted to go, then they can go ahead and pick it right away. Aha. Now, remember, when you do early decision, you have to take off all of your other applications off the table. So if you apply to 15 schools and maybe a school wants to accept you on an early decision, remember that once you accept that, then you literally have to take all the other schools off the table. All right? You have to take all the other schools off the table. Now, if that's your number one school you've wanted to go to since kindergarten and you got in, whoopee, then you're straight. You take it off, you're done. All right? Now, one thing that you don't want to do, you don't want to slack off because you don't want to slack off because you got into the school of your choice. So a common mistake that a lot of seniors make is that they stop doing their work as soon as they get accepted into school. And that's really not a good mindset to be into, because what will happen is that you'll start getting lazy, and it kind of shows the school what your work ethic is. So if you've been getting straight A's all along and your last semester or your last year, senior year, your grades drop significantly, that's really not a great sign of what's going to go on in college. All right. And I'm just being 100% honest with you. I've seen people do it before. Unfortunately, I've done it myself where I figured, hey, I got into the school of my choice. Now I'm just going to slack off. No, you shouldn't. You still want to finish off strong. All right. Especially if you're talking about you're taking some AP courses or your IB International Baccalaureate curriculum, you definitely don't want to slack off. You want to finish off strong in your senior year. So if you're ahead of yourself and you're ahead of the game, then by September, October, you have your applications in and you're sitting back and figuring out what's the next step. Now, of course, as an international student, there are plenty of other things that you should be doing anyway. You should make sure you have your passport. You should make sure that you're able to travel, contacting the office to see what's going on, the Office of International Affairs, and then going on that route. But the thing is, you shouldn't just be sitting there for months on end, and then you're going to wait until, January or February to start applying for schools, even if it says it's rolling admissions. Now, remember, we saw this happen in Bowie State University. Bowie State University typically had rolling admissions. They were getting too many applications. So what they did, they ended up stopping the amount of students that can attend. So let's say if you want to go to Bowie State University this spring, you really couldn't go in right now, even if you had the grades to get in. See how it works? So, when they say early admission, when they say rolling admissions, you want to make sure that you're jumping on that. Because they'll say rolling, but please treat it like there's a deadline. All right? I would love for you guys to have your applications in at the very latest November of your senior year. At the very latest. Okay? And in terms of if you have to take standardized tests, Some of these schools are test optional, but a lot of these schools say that if you're an international student, we do want to see some SATs. All right. SATs, I generally like to see 2 scores of SATs. I think everybody should take SATs 2 or 3 times. All right. You could take it in, maybe the summer before your senior year or during your junior year, and then take it like one more time during your senior year if you feel you didn't get the score that you wanted to get. All right. Now, like we mentioned before, they are becoming a little bit lenient on SAT scores because they don't want to judge admission just by a test. All right. So they've been a bit lenient on that. Okay, little bit lenient on that. So, but still, nevertheless, you're still going to have some of the schools that do want SATs. All right, they do want SATs. All right. Some of your schools are going to want a portfolio. So let's say, for example, if you apply to an art school or something like that, they're going to want to see a sample of your work. If this is the area you're trying to go into, art or any of the other arts and stuff like that, they're going to want to see they're going to want to see a portfolio. And if you're a serious art student or in that field, you'll know that you should be, you should have a record of all the work that you've done in your portfolio because they're going to want to see that. All right. You have schools like, Moore College of Art and Design in Philadelphia and other schools that basically are very great art schools, and they'll accept you, but they definitely want to see your body of work. All right. In terms of majors, and I know sometimes we hear parents say things like, oh, well, you have time. Don't worry, you're young. You don't want to take on this classic American mentality thinking that you got all the time in the world, to pick a major. And this is unfortunately some things that our parents tell us here in America. They always tell us, you got time, don't worry, take your time. And then when the time comes up, then they rush you. All right. So the earlier you know which direction you want to go, the easier your journey is going to be. All right. So I think that it's very important to at least know where your strengths are. And I'm not saying you know exactly what your major is, but to be honest, when you're going overseas to study, you should really be about 89 to 95% sure of what you want to do, because this is a monopoly play money. All right. Like, this isn't fake money. This is real money and it's real time. In America, unfortunately, with us, if we're going to universities here, I mean, we have a bit more flexibility, jump back and forth around with majors. And it's not a good thing. But when you're an international student, I mean, you don't really have time to play, especially if you're paying out of pocket. All right. So you definitely want to make sure you have an idea of what you want to do. If it's the sciences or if it's engineering or things like that, then you need to prepare yourself to what a course of study like that entails. All right. Because many of you guys just don't know. When we think of the term engineering, everybody gets excited and they love saying it. Oh, my son's an engineer. My son's studying engineer. My daughter's studying engineering. I've seen plenty of students not even know what an engineer does. They're just doing it because their parents want them to do that. And the girl in the village that he wants to marry, she's only going to marry an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. All right. So you have to know the field that you're getting into, and if you even want to get into it, or you're going to go there and you're not going to like it. So that's another important fact. Career choice. Of course, we never know until we graduate. When we're looking at medicine, for example, and we're looking at engineering. Now, remember one thing. In America, and if you're planning on going through the American system for medical school, remember this. Medical school is time on top of undergrad. So you do undergraduate school for 4 years or 5 years, however long it takes to get out. And then you still got to go to med school for another 4 years and do your residency and all that other nonsense. Now, why do I say this? Because it's different in Europe, Asia, and other countries. You go directly to med school from high school. All right. You go directly from med school to high school. So the thing is, you're spending less years in school. You understand? So whichever is better or not, I guess it all depends on who you are, where you're planning on studying. But Make sure you understand that medical school is an additional 4 years after your undergrad. All right. You hear people in America say that I'm pre-med. Yeah, exactly. You're pre-med. You're not in medicine anymore. All right. You're not in medicine at all. All right. Pre-med means that this is your time. You're working up to medicine. So you do 4 years there. Now think about this. You come in at 18 or 19. You do 4 years of undergrad. All right. Then at 22, 23, you go into med school. You do 4, 5, 6 years of med school, whatever that is, depending on what your specialty is and whatnot. So you're not getting out of school till you're close to 30. Now, why do I say this? Some people don't want to be in school until they are 29, 30, even if you're getting big money. All right. Some people want to get on with their life. 25, 26, some young people, it's not as much as before, but some young people want to, they want to get their life started. Maybe they're thinking about getting married, things like that, whatever. So you've been seeing a drop in this in America in terms of medical school students. So you just need to understand what that entails when you say you want to go to med school. All right. Don't think that you're going directly to a school and say, okay, I'm in medicine. No, you got to go there. You have to do your pre-med courses, and then you have to take the MCATs to make sure you get to an American med school. And then after that, you got to do another 5 years in med school, whatever the time is these days. I can't keep up. All right. But it's a lot. All right. And then another thing is that you're talking about money. Who's going to pay for all this? All right. Do they have medical scholarships out there? Yes, they do. All right. But you have to understand that all of these things cost money. So I just want you to understand the difference, the system difference from here and probably where the country you're from. And in most countries, they're going on a program where you're getting a BS in medicine, and then I don't know, I think it's maybe 6 years or something total, whatever, 5, 6 years. And then you could go into your practice. Now, how does a medical degree from America weigh with a medical degree from some of these other countries? Sometimes a little bit more, but not necessarily, because, Europe and some of these places have good medical schools. And not to be funny, before the whole, war in Ukraine that's been going on, people were flocking to the Ukraine for med school. People were flocking to Russia for med school. A lot of African students, a lot of Asian students, a lot of students are going to China for med school. So you're seeing some differences there. So I'm just saying that's on the medical field. Now for law, I'm not exactly familiar how the law situation works where you're at, but if you're thinking about becoming a lawyer, it's the same thing there. Lawyer, you have to do 4 years, 4 years to get your bachelor's degree, and then you're going to have to do 3 years of law school. All right, so you're talking about 7 years total. I think that overseas it's a little bit different. I think it's a bit shorter. But if you're going on the American track to becoming a lawyer, you're looking at a total of 7 years at the bare minimum. At the minimum, you're going to have to do school. All right. And also remember, you have to find a way to pay for all this stuff, because it sounds good. You're getting big money. And I've seen brilliant people go to school and they don't know how they're going to pay it back. And they're walking around with big heads too. Like, I went here, I went there, my duck. Yeah, but this guy's you could easily be $300,000 in debt. All right. And my feelings on debt and college loans. There's so much money out there that I think it's a shame that people are even still going that route. There's so much free money that I see get left on the table every day. Every day, people, I hear about new scholarships here, new scholarships there. Some people say, I don't want to write the essay. Other people say, I'm okay. My parents going to take care of it. All right. Not just international students, even American students. And I think what happens to international students is that they feel that there are no scholarship opportunities for them. And that's simply not true. There are plenty of them out there. Some schools, I think we went over one school, was it Seton Hall? I think Seton Hall was saying that whatever scholarships we offer our domestic students are the same ones we offer international students, while other schools say that we only offer scholarships to our domestic students. International students have to go another route. So you want to look at the school and see what they offer. So a school might have a $75,000 price tag, right? But they may offer the most aid. All right. Classic example. My kids My kids have gone to some pretty prestigious schools in America, and some of these schools, some of their tuition, I mean, most of them I haven't paid a dime or a little bit because the big schools pay the money. All right, the big schools pay the money. They're gonna pay some money if they're smart students. The big private schools, the schools like Duke and Swarthmore, whatever. I mean, they have a lot of money out there to give to their students. All right, so these are the schools that you're thinking, how am I going to afford it? But they're going to offer the money. All right, same situation with schools out west. You may find a and when we in America, when we say out west, we mean like heading towards California, heading towards the West Coast. So back east, we always say back out. We always say out west. All right. So when you're looking at some of those great universities heading out there, like University of Chicago, UCLA, Caltech, a lot of these schools, they do offer some money, and they do offer assistance to international students. However, you just have to make sure that you are utilizing these services. You're utilizing these scholarships. Don't leave the money sitting on the table. Alrighty? So, understand your timelines. And what are your timelines? This is a commitment of at least 4 years. I would say international students, you're probably going to spend maybe close to 5, maybe even 6 years just getting your bachelor's, depending on what's going on. Because if you go to America and then let's say your English proficiency isn't the greatest, then you know what I'm saying, you're going to have to take maybe some extra courses in English and whatnot, and you're going to want to take time to feel your way into the school and whatnot. You might change your major, have to do some things over. You might have to go home for a semester. All right, you got to take that all into consideration when you're going there. So look at that timeline, 18, 19. Just think that you're going to be in America at least to your 22, 23. All right. Are you going to go to graduate school afterwards? Well, then that's another thing, because if you're going to get your master's degree, we know master's degree could be anywhere from 2 to 3 years afterwards. All right, 2 to 3 years afterwards. So you have to figure out if a degree that you're going to get, is it going to be a degree where, I'm going to have to go forward to get a master's to get in my field? Then you want to figure that out right now. So, for example, there's no way you're going to be a lawyer just by going to undergrad. There's no way you're going to be a physical therapist just by going to undergrad. There's no way you're going to be a dentist or a master's level nurse just by doing that. All right, and you have to figure out your certifications as well. All right, and we're going to touch into that. We see a lot of students get into computer science, and they get into the computer science field. However, even for some of them to get work, they're still going to need certifications. So let's say, for example, you get into cloud programming, or you get into cybersecurity. Even with the degree, you're going to need certifications that go with it. Now, some people the other day, they told me one day, yeah, well, degrees trump certifications. That's not all the way true. It's not all the way true. All right. I've seen people get great jobs without the degree and having just a certification. So in some fields, a certification is worth as much, if not more, than your degree, because that means that you passed their tests. It's almost like passing the bar for a lawyer. You passed their test, you certified it for a little bit, you know your skills. So IT guys, remember, if you're thinking about going into IT, computer science, it's very good to figure out which direction you want to go. Cybersecurity, cloud programming, blockchain, all these things. Try to figure out which direction that you think you'd like to go, and figure out what are the industry tests for that, because there's certifications that you could take while you're in school just to make sure you're straight. All right. Any other schools will notice, for example, we do, and I want to touch on this as well. Pharmacy is one of those other schools where you can't just get a bachelor's. I don't think they offer a bachelor's of pharmacy. But like I said, pharmacy in other countries is only a certain amount of years. But in America, you have to go for your bachelor's and then go for your master's or even your PhD. Now, depending on what country you're in, you could talk to the Department of Labor and ask them, like, hey, what is like the real differences if I came here with an American degree as opposed to a degree from here? All right. So in some countries, an American degree is like gold. It's like gold. I don't know if that's your country, but an American degree is like gold in a lot of countries. But it's going to cost a lot of money. But think about it. Is a degree in your country going to give you the same results? These things you have to factor all these things in it, because like I said, our job at Belgrave College is to get you into these colleges, but you have to make the decision if it's cost effective for you to go there or not. And I'm never going to tell you that you just need to go and whatever, or just take our money. I mean, no, take your money. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then you can figure out where you want to go. I've seen kids get into good schools, and I really want to tell them, like, yo, this is not a good idea. Like, you're not, this is not a good idea at all. I've seen it. I've seen it plenty of times where kids have gotten into good schools. I don't know how they even got into them. And, I feel that they shouldn't have gone. All right. So that's another topic for another video. So remember, guys, we're moving into August. We have our ideas and things jotted down. We have our 15 schools listed. We have a list of some scholarships we might possibly qualify for. Hopefully right now we are reaching out to former students of these schools, chat group. Another thing is, the difference between you kids today and before is that you guys have social media. And with social media, you're able to get in contact with people you could literally go to Instagram and type in the name of your school and find about 1 million students that went there, and then start a conversation with them to get some advice. So that's one of the powers of social media. Use it to use social media to make your college process easier, instead of just sitting there and just looking at people doing stupid stuff online. All right. So I would definitely go that route. Take this time to do some information gathering, because right now we're in the early stages. Everybody's not sure what school they want to go to, but they have an idea of where they want. So now is a time where you could, as I always say, you want to do your due diligence. You want to make sure that you are going in and finding out about these schools, finding out about the towns, the states. Do I want to live here? What's the weather like? What is the food like? What's the people like? How diverse is it? Am I going to be the only international foreign student here? Where can I find something to eat? Are there places of worship for me? Are there places of recreation for me? These are all questions you need to ask. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he was going to a university in America, and he's liked the university because they had some recreation that he was interested in, and also they had places of worship for him. So one of his family members said, well, you're going there to learn. You're not going there for for recreation or for worship or things like that. And to be honest, I think that was the worst piece of advice I've heard anybody give someone, because you're only in school a certain amount of hours a day. But if you're somebody who is a part of their community and want to have a community type vibe, and if they have these aspects on your campus, that can make your stay a little bit easier. All right. So let's say, for example, if you are a Muslim student, right? You're a Muslim student and you're a practicing Muslim student. If there is a mosque on campus where you could go and you could pray, that's a game changer. That will make the decision of you going here as to going to this university here where there's not even a prayer room. All right. And this is something that's important to you. That's not important to everybody. And this is what I try to tell people. You have to worry about what works with you. All right. Signing off. Questions, comments, short speeches, put them in the bottom. Subscribe. Let me know what's going on here. And this is our Thursday morning. This is our Thursday morning get down, as I like to call it, because we're heading towards the end of the week, and I'm trying to get you guys ready. So we're doing good here, guys. We're doing good here. Just stick with me, and we're gonna get you to where you want to get. All right, Belgrave College signing off.